How much is this?
I don't think this would fit you.
Well, I didn't ask if it would fit. I asked how much it was.
How much is this, Marie?
It's very expensive.
It's very expensive.
Remember when a romantic comedy could be about a sex worker, a corporate raider, and a sleazeball lawyer, and the studio still tried to sell it as a date movie? Yeah, that was Pretty Woman in 1990. Julia Roberts as Vivian, the Hollywood Boulevard working girl with more personality than Edward's entire board of directors. Richard Gere as Edward, a billionaire who looks allergic to feelings. Jason Alexander as Philip Stuckey, the guy who makes you want to throw something at the TV every time he opens his mouth. Edward hires Vivian for a week, Stuckey panics about his precious deal, and somehow between hostile takeovers and shopping montages, it turns into a fairy tale. It was supposed to be a darker little character piece. Instead, it turned Julia Roberts into a full-blown movie star, dragged Roy Orbison back into everyone's playlist, and turned Rodeo Drive into a live-action selfie backdrop for people yelling "big mistake," huge, at confused store clerks. Today, we're counting down 15 weird facts about Pretty Woman. From the original downer script and reshot ending to real Rodeo Drive snobbery, improvised moments, and how Disney quietly ran this thing through the fairy tale machine. Now, before we dive in, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so YouTube keeps shoving these nostalgia trips in front of people who still remember what a VHS tracking error looks like. Alright, now let's get into the countdown with number 15, Rodeo Drive, from real-world snobbery to tourist attraction. The shopping humiliation on Rodeo Drive is one of the most satisfying setups in the movie because you know the payback is coming. Vivian gets sized up, written off, and basically escorted out for the crime of not looking expensive enough.
Look, I got money to spend in here.
I don't think we have anything for you. You're obviously in the wrong place. Please leave.
That scene hits hard because, surprise, the attitude wasn't exactly made up. When the production tried to film on the real Rodeo Drive, some actual high-end boutiques pulled a Stuckey. They didn't want to be linked to a movie about a sex worker, even one being softened into a romantic fantasy. Permissions went nowhere and meetings got frosty. So the crew found stores that would cooperate and leaned into the attitude that was already there. That barely concealed contempt the clerks throw at Vivian on screen, you didn't have to stretch very far to imagine where it came from. All of that makes her big mistake, huge.
No, thank you. Hi.
Hello.
Do you remember me?
No, I'm sorry.
I was in here yesterday. You wouldn't wait on me?
Oh,
You work on commission, right?
yes.
Big mistake. Big. Huge. I have to go shopping now.
Victory lap land even harder. You're watching the movie turn the actual snobbery it ran into on that street into a full-blown revenge fantasy with shopping bags. And then the box office hit, and suddenly those same boutiques had a change of heart. Rodeo Drive quietly turned into the Pretty Woman experience. Tourists showed up to do the Vivian circuit, stand where she got snubbed, strut down the sidewalk, pose in front of whatever looked vaguely like the boutique, and say the line. You know the line. Tourism money doesn't judge. Number 14, the original ending bombed so hard, they rebuilt it. That final scene of Edward in the limo, roses in hand, clinging to the fire escape like it's his personal Everest, feels like the only way this movie could end. Originally, that whole sequence didn't exist. The movie just stopped. In the early cut, Edward pays Vivian, they say goodbye, and that's it. No limo circling back, no declaration from the sidewalk, no rescues each other speech.
So what happened after? He climbed up the tower and rescued her.
She rescues him right back.
One version had Vivian and Kit on a bus riding off with the cash toward a life that was maybe slightly less terrible than the sidewalk, but still firmly in realistic bummer territory. Test audiences weren't having it. They had just watched these two melt each other's defenses for 2 hours, and the movie basically said, "Thanks for coming, drive safe." Feedback cards might as well have said, "Why did you stop the movie?" People wanted romance, they wanted a gesture, they wanted something bigger than "good luck, see you never." So the studio hit the panic button. Cast got called back, fire escape built, new ending stitched on. Gary Marshall later admitted that by that point, they weren't making a gritty drama anymore, they were making a fairy tale, and the original ending just didn't match the movie they'd actually shot.
The question is how much more?
I want the fairy tale.
Impossible relationships.
Without that disastrous test screening, Pretty Woman goes out on a shrug. With it, you get one of the most replayed rom-com endings of the 90s, complete with terrified billionaire clinging to rusty metal for love. Number 13, Julia Roberts wasn't the first choice for Vivian. Julia Roberts is Vivian now, but getting there was not as simple as, hey, call Julia. The role did some window shopping first.
May I help you?
I'm just checking things out.
Are you looking for something in particular?
No, well, yeah. Something conservative.
Yes.
Molly Ringwald passed, Michelle Pfeiffer passed, Meg Ryan passed, Daryl Hannah flat out refused, calling the script misogynistic and demeaning to women, so yeah, Vivian had a rough time finding a date before Julia showed up. When the script was still dark and depressing, Vivian wasn't the wisecracking chaos tornado we know. She was written more as a tragedy in progress, which meant the early casting talk leaned toward actresses who could sell that heavier version. The part was less hooker with a heart and more this is what the system does to people, not exactly peak date night energy. Then the script started getting sanded down. Jokes went in, the ending got softer. The whole thing drifted toward urban fairy tale instead of emotional sandpaper. Suddenly, they didn't need a symbol of despair, they needed somebody you'd happily follow around for 2 hours while she steamrolled snooty people with a grin. Enter Julia Roberts. By the time she was seriously on the table, the movie needed exactly what she does best. Big feelings, even bigger laugh, zero embarrassment about looking ridiculous if it gets a better moment. Once she signed on, Vivian shifted toward her natural gear. Funny, vulnerable, unpredictable.
What is your name, miss?
What do you want it to be?
Don't play with me, young lady.
Vivian.
Thank you. Vivian. Well, Miss Vivian, things that go on in other hotels don't happen at the Regent Beverly Wilshire.
The wardrobe changed, the dialogue loosened up, and the whole film tilted around her. So no, she wasn't always the plan. She was the version of the plan that turned Pretty Woman from interesting little drama into, oh, this is going to live on cable forever. Number 12, Richard Gere almost walked away from acting before Pretty Woman. Richard Gere looks so comfortable as Edward that it feels like he was born wearing a $1,000 suit.
Okay. Yes, sir. How did the Moore stock open at the Nikkei? I don't know. You don't know? Tokyo opened maybe 90 minutes ago. You have to keep on top of these things, all right?
Hello, Mr. Lewis.
Hey, how you doing? I want this whole thing wrapped up as soon as possible. I got to get to New York by Sunday. I got tickets to the Met. Yes, sir.
The reality was, right before this, he was seriously wondering if he even wanted to keep acting. His career had cooled off at this point. The late 80s projects weren't exactly setting the world on fire, and the roles coming in weren't exactly thrilling. So when this script showed up, rich guy, hired companion, one fancy week, he didn't immediately see career resurrection written all over it. What hooked him wasn't the fantasy, it was Edward's emotional ice block. A character who's so locked down he doesn't know what he feels about anything, slowly waking up because this one person refuses to play by his rules. That gave Gere something to chew on. Gary Marshall nudged him to give Edward real interior life, not just coast on being handsome man in tie. Between that and seeing what Roberts was bringing, he signed on. The payoff was massive. Pretty Woman hits big, Edward becomes one of his defining roles, and suddenly, Gere is back at the top of the romantic lead list. Not bad for a job he almost passed on while mentally cleaning out his dressing room. Number 11, Jason Alexander's Stuckey was originally even slimier. If you already think Jason Alexander's Philip Stuckey is gross, well, congratulations, you're correct.
So maybe if I screw you, huh, and take you to the opera, then I could be a happy guy, just like that.
Hey, get off me.
Hey, ow! Ow! Come on.
The fun twist is this is actually the dialed back version. In the darker, earlier takes on the story, Stuckey leans even harder into being predatory and cruel. Less sleazy lawyer and more walking cautionary tale. His behavior pushed the whole thing toward a much harsher drama, the kind where you don't grab popcorn, you grab a therapist. As the movie shifted into the more romantic territory, that didn't really fly. They needed a villain, not a human content warning, so some of the ugliest beats got trimmed, but never erased. On screen, he's still the guy who turns threatening the second he thinks Vivian is messing up his perfect deal.
You know, this is not home. This is a hotel room. And you are not a little woman. You're a hooker.
It's still deeply uncomfortable on purpose, but it doesn't yank the whole film out of fairy tale mode. Alexander plays him just right. Slick and performative around clients, but vicious when he thinks nobody's watching. He's exactly the sort of guy Vivian's been dodging her whole life, and the perfect person for Edward to finally punch in the face.
You broke my nose.
Get out of here.
What is wrong with you? Come on, Edwin, I gave you 10 years. I devoted my whole life to you.
This is bullshit. This is such bullshit. It's the kill you loved, not me. I made you a very rich man doing exactly what you loved. Now get out of here.
The movie needed a villain you wouldn't feel bad cheering against. Mission accomplished. Number 10, the opera scene was chosen to mirror Vivian and Edward. The opera scene looks like your standard rich guy shows off his culture moment, but they didn't just grab whatever happened to be playing that night in the script. The opera was picked exclusively to echo Vivian and Edward's whole deal.
We're late.
No, it's all right. Opening night never starts on time.
Okay. Program, sir.
Thank you.
Vivian's sitting there in that red dress, watching a story about a woman from another world getting swept into a life she was never supposed to have. She reacts the way an actual person would. No polite little golf clap, just full emotional meltdown in a fancy box seat. Meanwhile, Edward isn't really watching the stage, he's watching her. That choice quietly underlines what the movie has become by this point. We're not in gritty realism territory anymore, we're in This Is My Cinderella but with better haircuts and worse life choices. Picking an opera that mirrors their situation turns the date into a Hall of Mirrors moment. Vivian watching a version of herself, Edward grappling with what it means to be the guy on the other side of that bargain. You don't need to know the plot of the opera to feel it, but once you do, the whole scene clicks into place. This isn't just a high-class night out, it's the movie winking at you and saying, yes, we do know exactly what kind of fairy tale we're telling here. Number 9, the red dress and the jewelry box. Two moments that almost didn't happen. The red dress is the image from Pretty Woman.
When you're not fidgeting, you look very beautiful. And very tall.
It's on posters, DVD covers, Halloween costumes, bad 90s prom knockoffs, you name it, that's what it is. So, of course, they almost messed it up. Early costume talks tried out other looks. Softer colors that would have made Vivian read more sweet than commanding. Cooler tones that might have blended her into Edward's world instead of making her pop out of it. Fine choices for a different movie, but not the one they were accidentally wandering into. Settling on that deep, saturated red turned the opera night into a coronation. She walks out and the entire room and audience at home has to recalibrate. This isn't the girl in the cutout dress and boots from the opening scenes anymore, it's the same person, but now the outside finally matches the presence she's had the whole time. And then there's the jewelry box moment.
Do I look okay?
Something's missing.
Well, nothing else is gonna fit into this dress, I'll tell you that.
Maybe something in this box. I don't want you to get too excited. It's only on loan.
On the page, it's a standard rich guy gives fancy jewelry scene. Edward opens the box, Vivian gasps, romantic music, you all know the drill. Nice, but nothing you haven't seen in every other movie with a ballroom. On set, Richard Gere decided that it was a little too smooth. As Roberts leans in to look, he snaps the box shut on her fingers. She yelps, then just explodes into that completely unfiltered laugh we all know. No character work, no rehearsal, just Julia getting ambushed. Gary Marshall watched the playback and knew they were never going to top it. He tossed the polished version and kept the prank take. That unscripted moment became one of the defining shots of the movie in every trailer and clip reel for the next 30 years. Number 8, the I Love Lucy laugh was forced by Tickling. Julia Roberts' laugh is practically its own character in this movie.
You're joking.
No, it's the only way I can get you off my coat.
It's big, contagious, and in at least one scene, it was completely manufactured by Gary Marshall's hands. In the scene where Vivian's watching TV and loses it laughing, that hysterical reaction didn't just happen naturally. Marshall needed her to really let loose. Not polite chuckling, not movie laughing, but full body can't breathe cackling, so he did what any reasonable director would do. He got down off camera and tickled her feet. It worked. Roberts couldn't hold it together, and that's exactly what ended up on screen. You're not watching Vivian laugh at I Love Lucy, you're watching Julia Roberts trying not to kick her director in the face. Sometimes the best performances come from actual emotional moments. Other times they come from a grown man ambushing his lead actress's feet like a deranged uncle at Thanksgiving. We're halfway through this countdown, and if you're still watching, I'm guessing Pretty Woman has lived on at least one VHS tape, DVD, or streaming queue in your house. So tell me in the comments, how did you first see it? Did you rent it from the video store? Did you tape it off TV? Or were you just channel surfing at midnight? And while you're down there, hit like and subscribe so we can keep dragging more movie memories out of the closet. Now let's get back to the countdown with number 7. The hotel manager wasn't meant to be Vivian's fairy godfather. Barney, the hotel manager, could have easily been the guy who spends the whole movie trying to throw Vivian out.
Excuse me, miss, may I help you?
I'm going to my room.
Do you have a key?
Oh, I forgot that cardboard thing. I'm on the top floor.
You're a guest here?
I'm with a friend.
And who would that be?
Instead, he quietly becomes the one making sure she stays, and that upgrade wasn't in the original blueprints. On the page, he starts out more like polite gatekeeper. He runs the place, enforces the rules, keeps rich guests happy, and treats anyone who doesn't look the part like a potential problem. You've seen that guy in 100 movies, you just never remember his name. But Gary Marshall had a secret weapon, Hector Elizondo. The two met on a basketball court in 1979 when Elizondo accidentally hit Marshall in the face with a bad pass.
And I was invited to play basketball there in 1979, 1980. I said, who? Gary Marshall, the producer. Who's that? Producer of Happy Days? Happy Days.
Marshall's response? That's a bad pass, but you're a terrific actor. I have a movie for you. From that moment, Elizondo appeared in every single film Marshall directed, all 18 of them, from Young Doctors in Love in 1982 to Mother's Day in 2016. Marshall knew exactly what Elizondo could bring to a role like Barney, and Elizondo delivered. He played him as calm, kind, and just a little amused by everything, which made the story work better. Instead of another obstacle to overcome, he becomes the insider who decides Vivian deserves a shot.
Yes, Bridget, hello. This is Barnard Thompson here at the Regent Beverly Thank you. Yes, but I'd like you to do a favor for me, please. I'm sending someone over. Her name is Vivian. She's a special guest. She's the niece of a very special guest.
He helps her figure out the etiquette, reins in the staff, and steers her away from landmines without ever talking down to her. By the final cut, he's functionally her fairy godfather. Elizondo doesn't conjure a dress out of thin air, but he does open doors that should have stayed shut and make sure she walks through them like she belongs. In a movie full of people judging Vivian at a glance, Barney's the rare one who actually looks again. Number 6, Roy Orbison's Oh Pretty Woman got a second life. Roy Orbison did not wake up in 1990 needing a hit. Oh Pretty Woman was already a classic. But the movie basically handed the song a comeback tour it never asked for. Here's the quiet irony. Orbison's original lyrics are about a guy watching a woman walk by and hoping she'll turn around.
Walking down the street, pretty woman, the kind I'd like to meet, pretty woman.
It's catcalling set to a killer guitar riff. The movie takes that same song and flips it into a liberation anthem. Vivian strutting through Hollywood like she owns the place, a song about wanting, suddenly becoming a song about becoming.
Pretty woman, the kind I like to meet, pretty woman.
Slapping the film's title right on the track locked them together permanently. That riff kicks in and you instantly know what universe you've stepped into. Not serious drama about late-stage capitalism, but this is gonna be fun, a little loud, and slightly ridiculous in a good way. Once the movie took off, the song rode shotgun.
I couldn't help but see, pretty woman.
Radio dusted it off, compilation albums dragged it back into circulation, and a whole generation who'd only heard it in passing suddenly knew every note because it played over the opening credits of the tape they'd rented 3 times in a row.
You're not the truth. No one could look as good as you.
Now, you can't really separate the two in your brain anymore, can you? You hear that opening guitar and you're not just thinking 60s rock, you're seeing Vivian in those boots and that wig, owning a version of Hollywood that the song's narrator could only watch from the sidewalk. Number 5, the poster is a lie. You know that famous Pretty Woman poster? Julia Roberts draped against Richard Gere, both of them looking like they just walked off a magazine cover? Yeah, about that, almost none of it is real. Let's start with Julia. That's her head, sure, but from the neck down?
Do you think I look like Carol Channing?
No, I love this look. It's very glamorous. glamour choice.
That's her body double, Shelley Michelle. Someone decided Roberts' actual body wasn't poster-worthy enough, so they grafted her face onto someone else and called it a day. Hollywood magic at its finest. And then there's Richard Gere. In the movie, his hair is naturally gray, almost silver in certain lighting.
This time problem is a major issue with you. Why don't we just get through that right now?
Great, let's get started.
How much for the entire night?
On the poster, it's jet black. Somebody looked at the promotional art and said, you know what this needs? A dye job that doesn't match anything audiences will actually see in the theater. So the two people selling you the movie on that poster are technically not the two people in the movie. One's a head transplant. The other got a digital trip to the salon. It's the visual equivalent of a catfish profile, and somehow it still worked. Number 4, Laura San Giacomo stole scenes as Kit with minimal screen time. Kit DeLuca is in this movie for about the length of one infomercial, and yet everyone remembers her.
Well, just 'cause I'm hungry. I'm gonna go get something to eat.
Hey, girl!
Hey, yo, baby!
How about a freebie? It's my birthday.
Dream on!
That's Laura San Giacomo committing grand larceny on the entire cast. Kit could have been a cardboard cutout, the bad influence friend, the comic relief roommate, the cliche in fishnets who exists so the main character seems more respectable by comparison. Instead, San Giacomo plays her like a real person who's made some terrible choices but still shows up for a friend when it counts. She's funny, sharp, and she's got exactly 0 illusions about the life they're living. Every time Kit pops in, she grounds the movie. She's the reminder that Vivian's fairy tale has an expiration date if things don't change.
You're right. We say who, we say when, we say how much.
The penthouse, the shopping, the opera, that's all temporary. Kit is the world Vivian has to go back to if this week ends the way it was originally written. Critics noticed, and so did casting people. For someone with maybe 15 minutes of total screen time, San Giacomo walked out with a lot of attention and a straight shot into more work. Vivian got the fairy tale. Kit got the scenes people quote at parties. Number 3, Pretty Woman turned Julia Roberts into a genuine movie star. Julia Roberts didn't come out of nowhere, but Pretty Woman is the one that made her officially a thing.
I can't believe you bought drugs with our rent. What is going on with you, kid?
I needed a little pick-me-up.
Oh, well, we need rent money.
Oh, calm down, chica. She only owes me $200 more.
Carlos, another $200.
That was from way before.
That's right, 200, Vivian.
Before this, she was just that really good actress from a couple of movies. After this, though, she was the reason you bought the ticket. Vivian gave her a role that used everything she does well all at once. She gets to be ridiculous, heartbreaking, furious at saleswomen, and vulnerable in elevators. It's messy and big and totally uncool in the best way. Audiences didn't just like her, they fell for her hard. The industry noticed, and suddenly she wasn't just part of movies, she was the movie. Studios started building entire projects around what if Julia Roberts, but in this situation. And romantic comedy spent the 90s trying to bottle that same lightning in different outfits.
Hello, you must be Vivian. My name's Bridget.
Yeah, hi. Barney said you'd be nice to me.
He's very sweet. What are your plans while you're in town?
We're gonna have dinner.
Oh, don't sit up there, dear. You're gonna go out? Dinner?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you'll need a cocktail dress then.
Vivian Ward scores a week in a penthouse and a guy who learns to use his heart. Julia Roberts scores a decade of headlining films and owning every movie poster in the mall. One of those is slightly more lucrative. Number 2, the movie's success reunited Roberts and Gere, even if critics weren't sold. One thing almost everyone agreed on, even the critics who weren't into the movie, was that Julia Roberts and Richard Gere had chemistry.
Hello.
Never, ever pick up the phone.
Why are you calling me?
Did you buy clothes today?
I got a dress. A cocktail one.
That's good. I'll be in the hotel lobby 7:45 sharp.
What, you're not coming up to the door?
Like, yeah, we'd watch these two read a phone book, chemistry. Audiences leaned all the way in. They showed up in theaters, they wore out rental copies, they rewatched it every time it aired on basic cable. For viewers, Pretty Woman was less social commentary and more like, I like watching these two bounce off each other for 2 hours. Critics were more divided. Some praised the performances and the charm, then side-eyed the fantasy elements and the wealth gloss. Hollywood looked at the box office and said, so, more of that? Which is how we ended up with Runaway Bride 9 years later.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. What are you doing?
Nothing.
Get that up.
What are you doing?
It's all right. It's all right. Nothing.
Wow, I see the most beautiful girl.
You can see me.
That movie had been floating around Hollywood for over a decade with names like Harrison Ford, Gina Davis, Michael Douglas, and Sandra Bullock attached at various points. But when producers finally approached Gere, he had one condition: if you can get Julia, I'm in. Well, they got Julia, and audiences sprinted to theaters for the reunion. Runaway Bride actually outgrossed Pretty Woman at the box office, even though critics were lukewarm. Nobody cared though. People wanted Roberts and Gere back together, and Gary Marshall gave them exactly that, plus Hector Elizondo, because of course he did. It wasn't an accident or a cute coincidence. That reunion existed because Pretty Woman proved that putting these two in the same frame was basically money in the bank, no matter how many reviewers wrote think pieces about the message. Number 1, it started as a dark drama called 3000 before Disney turned it into a fairy tale. Now, if you've made it this far, here's the one thing that changes everything you thought you knew about Pretty Woman.
I gotta get going.
Yes, I noticed you packed. Why are you leaving now?
The movie that became everyone's cozy rom-com started out as something you'd need a stiff drink to get through. The original script wasn't even called Pretty Woman, it was called 3000. That's the amount Edward pays Vivian for the week, and in that version, the title wasn't cute. It was the price tag on a transaction that ends badly for everyone. Written by J.F. Lawton, 3000 was a harsh little drama about prostitution in Los Angeles. Vivian wasn't charming and quick-witted, she was a drug addict with a temper. Edward wasn't a brooding prince learning to feel, he was cold, detached, and borderline cruel. The romance, well, there was no romance. In the original ending, Edward pulls down a side street, they have a fight, and he shoves her out of the car, throws the money on top of her, and drives away. That's it. No limo circling back, no fire escape, no she rescues him right back, just a woman on the pavement watching taillights disappear. Some versions were even darker.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If you ever need anything, dental floss, whatever, you give me a call.
Former Disney exec Jeffrey Katzenberg once said that in one draft, Vivian dies of an overdose. Let that sink in while you picture the shopping montage. Then Disney's Touchstone Pictures picked up the project, and Katzenberg insisted they turn it into a modern-day fairy tale. The script went through 6 rewrites, the drugs disappeared, the cruelty got softened, and jokes were slipped in. Edward became redeemable, Vivian became magnetic, and suddenly you had a love story instead of a cautionary tale. Julia Roberts later described the original script as a really dark and depressing, horrible, terrible story about 2 horrible people. When she had heard it went to Disney, her first thought was, are they going to animate it? Instead, Gary Marshall came on board and built the version we know now, complete with Roy Orbison, Rodeo Drive Revenge, and a billionaire climbing rusty metal to prove he's changed. That transformation is the reason Pretty Woman became the movie you rewatch instead of the one you respect once and never touch again. It's the reason Julia Roberts became a star, Richard Gere got his second act, and an entire generation learned that the correct response to a snooty salesperson is big mistake, huge.
Big mistake. Big. Huge.
3000 might have been more realistic, but Pretty Woman became a fairy tale, and fairy tales are the ones that stick. And there you have it. 15 weird facts about Pretty Woman, the movie that proved fairy tales could still work in 1990. Which fact surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments, like, subscribe, and share this with someone who still gets chills when Roy Orbison starts playing, and until next time, this is Remember When.